Good morning. Welcome to another edition of ChatNAPT with the AI Chatterbox Chuck and Howie, a podcast dedicated towards metrology. I'm Chuck Ellis. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I'd like to introduce my co-host for this event, Howard. Good morning, Howard.
I'll be Howard for the day.
You're going to have to be.
I identify as Howard.
You're going to have to be more than Howard today.
Yeah.
We're kind of early, a lot earlier than we normally are when we record a podcast, and we're really had to make room for our guest who's really busy. So we're really lucky to have him, and he's making time for us. But I'm going to tell you, Howard, I am not feeling well today, and not only that, look at my video stream. It's terrible this morning. I don't know what's going on.
It's got some brightness to it.
Yeah, it's just.
You've got to glow like you're a ghost.
Maybe it's the angel or something around me. That's something I don't know. Maybe the good Lord's going to come take me today. Anyways, So I'm going to ask you to probably lead the charge today, and I'll jump in where I can, but I'm not going to be my usual boisterous self this morning because I just don't have it this morning.
Yeah. Well, that's not a problem. I can certainly help with there. So as far as the audience is concerned, they don't know when we record these, right? They just see them populated. But we tend to, number one, deviate from business hours that we have to take care of business, right? So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is trying to make the time frame meet what the guest's schedule requires. And sometimes that's a weekend, sometimes that's early, sometimes it's late. So whatever it takes, we're there.
Yeah, but it's really early today for me.
So hey, I got a little beef that I got to talk about. I was traveling last week on business, and yesterday I came into Kansas City Airport. We landed. Captain came over the PA, and I expected him to say something like, gates are backed up a little bit. We got to wait a few minutes. No, instead he said, there's an incident going on at the Kansas City Airport. The FBI is involved. They have cleared the terminals. People are out on the tarmac. Planes are backed up. It's going to be a while before we can pull into our gate. Not sure how long. I'll give you updates as we can. And he says, and by the way, you might find out more than I know. Just, get on the internet and figure out what's going on.
Right.
Sure enough, bomb threat, right?
Oh, no.
So local police were involved. Department of Homeland Security was there. FBI was there. K9 units, obviously, to sniff out any bomb materials if they could find them. So we sat there for an hour and a half before we were cleared to come back into the gate. And of course, all these people with their luggage, if they're carrying them on board, right? All out on the tarmac and all out on the side roads and everything. And now they got to get all of them back in before they can start moving planes.
Wow.
Anyway, so it took a while for us to get into the gate. Get in. I'm in the front seat, thankfully. I get the first one off. Go down to baggage claim, thinking I'm probably not going to get my bag right away. Nope, it was there. It was already on the belt. It's like, how did that happen? Crazy. So I'm thinking, okay, headed home. Get out to the parking garage, all blocked off. Cops everywhere. Right. So they cleared the terminals, but now they're sniffing out everything in the parking garage. And there's tons of vehicles out there and the lot beyond it. So most of us stood there for a while, and then a lot of the people just cleared out. I don't know if they got a taxi or Uber home or if they just went back inside. So I was the lone one standing there for a while. And then this gentleman came up and introduced himself as a reporter from the Kansas City Star, asked me if he could interview me. So I went ahead and told him what I knew. And then, people were coming and going and just trying to walk across. Here's this police vehicle with lights flashing, blocking the entrance to the garage. And they're just walking up like there's nothing going on, trying to walk around it. And of course, the cop is pushing them all back.
Yeah.
Actually had a guy, I couldn't believe it if I didn't see it from my own eyes, challenge the police officer. What authority do you have? What jurisdiction are you in? You don't have the authority to block us from our cars. It's like, you're going to take a bad situation and make it worse?
Yeah, exactly.
What an idiot. Anyway, so that was exciting and boring. So stood there for 2 hours, because there's nowhere to sit, right? Meanwhile, they do have buses coming and going for people and the hotel vans and all that. You could be picked up if you had somebody come to get you. So anyway, all of this to say, I finally, talked to my wife a couple of times and ended up having my daughter come get me because I'm not going to get to my vehicle and they have no idea how long it's going to be. So she came and got me. So after 4 hours, I finally went home. I got to go back today and get my vehicle if it's open. I got to call and see if they've cleared it yet.
Wow.
Not good.
Yeah. Do you think that's a byproduct of what happened in the Middle East?
I do. Yeah. Either directly from, I don't know if it's sleeper cells awakening and they're, putting threats, but I'll tell you this, the flight attendant told me that 2 weeks ago, or about 2 weeks ago, this happened in Atlanta as well. And I wasn't aware of that one either.
It happened
So-
somewhere else too. Where else did it happen? My mind is not good today. My mind is like out, still asleep. So it
And
happened.
it could also just be lunatics out there just calling
Yeah,
in,
right.
because they're not happy with what's happening in Iran. But in any case, regardless of the reason, it just creates a mess.
Yeah, it's just nuts, absolutely nuts. Well, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of back in the days when I'm not trying to one up you, but I had terrible luck. I was in Detroit when we had the blackout. I was in Detroit.
Mm.
And then I was also at the Atlanta airport when they shut the Atlanta airport. Remember the case where the guy jumped over the stool and had to go back and get his camera, and they
Yes.
shut Atlanta down? Now, I know we're going back a few years, but I mean, post 9/11, it was just terrible. I mean, how can someone be so stupid to jump a carousel? But anyways,
I don't know.
So I've been there, and it's not fun at all. And you hate to say that, well, at least you're through it now. But people, when we say that, like to all kinds of events, when we say, well, at least, I hate that expression.
You're
I
minimalizing it,
absolutely-
right?
Yeah,
Shouldn't have happened
absolutely.
in the first place. And I did have the thought, at least we're on the ground, not circling or having to divert somewhere else. So
Yeah,
yes, it could have been worse. Still not a good situation.
no, not a good situation.
Yeah.
Well, we got to talk about, unfortunately, we got to get back to business.
We do.
We
Yes.
got a wonderful guest this morning. Our guest this morning is, I've only had slight conversations with him. I do not know him. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about him and his experience and his journey and what he's done with his company. And I speak about is Bobby Feigler. Bobby is the president and chief executive officer for Michelli. Am I saying that correctly? I do believe I am.
Michelli, I believe is, and I think he pronounces his name Feigler.
Feigler. Okay, well, thank you. Well, geez, he'll bite me in the head if I mispronounce his last name. So I'm just going to call him Bobby when he comes on board. So, again, we don't know a whole lot about him, so we're going to really get the chance to introduce him. We'll have a lot of time to talk about exactly who he is. It'll be really exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Yes. Yeah, we'll get his background and how this all came about. And he did forewarn us. He's not a metrologist. He's not into the details, so we'll steer clear of that. But
no, well, he goes along with our line. He's executive. He runs the company.
Exactly.
And we've got the C Series suite where this whole season we've had pretty much dedicated towards the executives, where how they started their business, what they did with their business, how they grew their business, and what they do to keep the business running and make money. I mean, we got to make money, right?
As my master's instructors told us, why are you in business? It's the money, stupid. Don't forget that. Don't lose sight of that. Don't get so far into the weeds that you forget it's about the money.
Which, this world is crazy, right? But, if a business doesn't make money, it can't pay the employees, no matter what.
It's not just profit. It's cash flow as well. Cash flow is very important, or you'll choke yourself, right? Choke the business and won't be able to pay bills. So cash flow and profit.
Yeah. So it's his hard job, and I'd be interested to hear how he handled the pandemic, because he's in the scale industry, which is an on-site. Mostly of this stuff is on-site business. Yeah. So it'll be good. So we'll look forward to him joining us here in a second or two. So in the meantime, like I said, I don't know, Howard, what's going on, but I'm just not feeling good today. I don't know if I'm getting a relapse of my.
You look okay to me, other than the screen washout, the video washout. But I think you look all right.
Well, maybe it's good. There's a screen washout. It makes me look healthy then today. So.
Yeah.
And there's Bobby. Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, good morning.
How are you today?
Happy Monday. Doing good.
I hear you have great news from the weekend.
Yeah, our third grandchild was born, Joseph Michael Feigler, and he came onto this earth on Saturday. And man, my wife and I are just really stoked about it. It's the first two are amazingly special for us, and
Of
this one
course.
is just another joyous occasion.
Well, congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
How
we're
many?
we're excited. It's I was telling my brother yesterday, as a young person, you can handle, screaming and hollering and the kids running around. So we've had the two little girls since Friday morning, and man, I'm wore out.
I bet you are. You're not used to that. Well, that's what they say about grandparenting, right? You can always give them back.
That's right. That's right. But no, we're super excited, and everybody's doing well, and just it's a circle of life. It's beautiful.
So tell us about the meaning of the name. Is that the heritage, from other family members or ancestral
Yeah,
names?
it's interesting. It's well, first off, it pays homage to my wife. Her initials are JMF. Her name is
Ah,
Jean. Her maiden name is Michelli, and Feigler, JMF. So and then my middle initial is Joseph. It stands for Joseph. Is J for Joseph, and
mhm.
Chris, my daughter-in-law's father's middle name is Michael.
Okay.
So it's very thoughtful, and I don't know what they're going to call him yet. Joe, Joey, Joseph, JM. Who knows?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, it'll depend on a little bit of his personality as well, right?
Sure, sure.
Oh,
Well,
that's
thank you for
fantastic.
asking. That's we're super excited.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
congratulations on that. And look, I don't have any grandchildren. I'm old and fat, and my children decided not to have children. So, and Howard doesn't have any grandchildren either. So
No.
so we don't have the ability to experience that with you, but we really we applaud you and thank you for sharing that
Yeah,
with
but I
us.
have nieces, great nieces, and great great nieces and
That which you
nephews.
spoil.
Yeah, of course. So
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
kind of that aspect of it.
right.
Yeah,
But I'm
it's
very happy for you.
the things you learn in life, being able to share those things, and and it really it's easy to think back when, like in my case, my kids were that age, and I always joke with people. I almost can remember back when I was a little kid running around, and it's amazing how fast life goes by, and we get so busy with work, and these things outside of work are so more important.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's
absolutely.
that's the wonderful thing about having kids, and then of course grandkids, is that you get to relive those experiences through them again and again, and remember back, right, to those
That's right.
moments.
That's right.
And of course, they say the funniest things.
They do.
You know,
There's no filters.
toddlers and adolescents say the funniest things. Adolescents are mostly saying things that are just making you upset, but you get into their teen years, rebellion,
Yeah.
testing you out.
Well, let me ask the first question, Bobby, to get us up and running. Now, you and I have met one time for like 13 seconds.
Yeah.
And so neither one of us know each other very well. And I would like you to share with us exactly, if you could, in as much detail as you'd like, what exactly that you do for Michelli. Maybe tell us a story about that, how you guys have grown. I mean, I personally know because we work with you guys every single day. Though when I say we, NAPT, so we're very familiar and intimate with your company, and we love you guys. But why don't you share with us exactly the audience, exactly what you do, and what the services that you're providing to the community, and how you basically run your business.
Sure. Sure. Well, first off, thank you guys for the opportunity to talk on a Monday morning. My job primarily inside the business is to remove roadblocks for our team members. I spend probably 90% of my time inside the business trying to, allow for our team members to have great success. And, we're scaling our business. It's growing pretty rapidly, and, it's challenging, honestly. And so I just try to ensure that we've got a great place for people to come to, that we're not bogged down, that we have the ability to listen and take in insight, recommendations, and if appropriate, action on it. So that's really, it sounds simple, but that's what I do. I like that. I like to be able to help people. I'm very much of a people person. So I travel a lot. I interact a lot with our team members and thus our customers. But ultimately, I try to knock down hurdles for the team.
That's a very important aspect. I like that. I've always felt that way as well. The executive leadership really should be there to help your people be successful because they're taking care of your clients and they can't get there without it. So that's a great perspective. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
so our business, we're basically just starting out our 80th year. The company started in 1947 in a small house in Mid-City, New Orleans, by my wife's grandfather, G.T. Michelli Sr. And it really started as a family business, and we still very much operate as a family business. And whether that's people that have just joined us and they're not blood relationships, but we try to behave like a family, and all the good and the bad, right? Because in family you disagree and you come back together and you have a common purpose. And so the business is all about providing service for our customers. We're very much of a service-oriented organization, and for us, service means really three simple things. When they have a problem, they call us. As relates to their measurement equipment, and it could be, hey, it doesn't look like it's accurate, or it's not repeating, or somebody put a fist through the instrument. So we get a lot of those kind of calls. We obviously provide recurring calibration services, and we do lots of installations. So our business lineage, and even today, it's just what people know us as an industrial weighing measurement company. I mean, we lead with industrial weighing, and because weighing, the discipline of weighing measurement is everywhere. We've used that as sort of our gateway to other measurement disciplines. And we have very long-standing relationships with customers where we do a really fine job on making sure that they're everything from a moisture analyzer, a lab balance, all the way up to maybe a railroad scale. And we do everything in between. Then that finds us talk to them about other disciplines, and we cover I don't know, 8 or 9 different topside disciplines. And often we find ourselves maybe starting with their scales. Next thing you know, we're doing torque or pressure, or dimensional, or their pressure of their process meters inside of a plant. But for us, whether it's a metrology related discipline, much more technical, or a basic bench scale, the integrity aspect of what we do is paramount. I always tell people, nobody's watching you. It's on us to make sure we're doing it perfectly each and every time, because customers are reliant upon those measurements for safety, quality, or commerce reasons. And so the why we do it is the same, whether we're doing a dimensional tool or where we're doing some kind of weighing vessel in a tank farm.
Yeah. So when you earlier said that you're scaling up operations, no pun intended, you really are.
Yeah. It's funny. It's wasn't that long ago. So when I was a kid, I worked for GT Michelli in high school and college. And I was like a helper. I schlepped 25 pounds and 50-pound test weights all over the place, and climbed towers, and crawled in pits. And this was all with scales. I went in the military. I was an infantry officer in the Army, and so I worked outside the industry for a very long time. And I got back involved fully when we moved back home in 2014, back in the industry. So it's fascinating that sometimes the technical nature of metrology is a bit daunting for some of our team members and even for our customers, right?
Sure.
But I try to boil it down and distill it so that people understand, hey, it's what we do is so doggone important, because accuracy matters. And
Yeah.
people have to trust the tool that's measuring because people, in some cases, lives depend upon it.
Yeah, and you're right. The only thing the customer sees is that final cert and the cal label on the instrument. They don't
That's
see
it.
everything that goes behind it. Sometimes they don't understand all the details that go into that or what's required in metrology to make sure that instrument is measured correctly and or performing correctly, continues to perform correctly. So that's very important. It's a blind trust for sure.
Yeah.
I know Chuck wants to dig into the Army comment. Go ahead, Chuck.
Well, we share that, Bobby. I spent a couple years in the Army myself, and one of my stints was ordnance. And before I was mostly ordnance and signal corps was my two disciplines in the Army. So I'm curious, where did you, how did you get introduced to the Army, and what brought you to the Army? And were you a ROTC guy, or were you a 90-day wonder boy, or?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we're on the other end of it. We were blowing things up. I was an infantry officer, so I was the youngest of 5 kids coming out of New Orleans, and I had applied for the academies, Annapolis and West Point, and a buddy of mine's father was a Marine Corps colonel. He says, "Bob, you got to check out this ROTC thing."
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know what ROTC was in high school, and I wound up doing it. Got a full ride. Went to Loyola in New Orleans, and got commissioned a second lieutenant. As a kid, I was an Eagle Scout. I love the outdoors.
Okay,
And,
yeah, wonderful.
sort of infantry, outdoors, adventure. And as a cadet, I did a lot of different very exciting schools, airborne school, air assault, northern warfare, and then went to the basic officers course and then Ranger school. And my first assignment, at the old age of like 22, was leading an infantry platoon in Germany.
Yeah.
And, it's I still reflect back on those early 6-7 years of my career. The leadership experiences that I had still pay off for me today.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
for me, it's always been about being a great listener and being sincere in how we lead. And sometimes you have to do the hard things to be a good leader. And it's really served me well. And I always encourage younger folks to go do it because you're going to be exposed to all different walks of life in fairly intense environments that will pay for your future endeavors as you have those similar types of challenges. So it was a great experience for me, and I came out of the service. I was in primarily during the Cold War. Got out in North Carolina and stayed in North Carolina and spent a good part of my career in the life sciences industry, working for Baxter Healthcare. And then myself and another Army officer and 2 other guys, we started an internet commerce marketplace called SideQuest. It was one of the first, this is way before Amazon. It was we called it the internet marketplace for scientific products. So think scientists in a lab and all the stuff that they use, chemicals
Sure.
and tools and equipment and instrumentation. We created a marketplace, and we took that company public on NASDAQ in the end of '99. And if you remember, in early 2000, Q1, the dot-com bubble burst.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we were sort of one of those bubbles exploding off of that big bubble. So experienced that for 11 years of my life, starting with really 4 of us and scaling that business up to 400 plus employees. And
Great experience.
yeah, great experience. And a lot of the measurement experience, obviously in the labs, scientists, they're all about measurement. And so a lot of my early understanding of the importance of measurement came more so from, say, a pharmaceutical R&D laboratory or a med device laboratory, where they were dealing with very, very, very small quantities and volumes that had to be measured very, very precisely. So, that got into my skin a little bit, and I never forgot about as a young kid working for GT, and it's things go in full circle.
Full circle, yeah.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Interesting.
feeds back on itself. Wow, that's a really
Well,
interesting background.
before
that
we
I
change
didn't know
subject,
about
Howard,
you.
let me ask, where in Germany? Because I was stationed at K-Town. Where were you stationed at?
Yeah, I was part of 3rd Armored Division, and we were in Friedberg.
Yep.
Yeah, between Frankfurt and Gießen. Our first child was actually born in a house, in a doctor's house in Friedberg with the German midwife. And
No kidding.
boy, what an experience that was. And we spent some time, obviously the Fulda Gap was our area. And of course the wall was still up. So we go up to Berlin, the Czech border still had a fence on it. So dating myself a little bit, but that was the big threat back then.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a lot of the maintenance when I was there. We were responsible for a lot of those pampa sites that are, a couple hundred miles, further west of where we were at in Germany. So we made a lot of trips into Amsterdam, into France for all the pampa sites and made sure all of those, our maintenance site, you know what a pampa site is, Howard, by chance?
I don't.
A pampa site is where there is this big, huge cave in the ground, basically. And there are just millions of dollars of equipment just sitting over in Europe, waiting. So when we send over troops, all we got to send over is just the soldier, and they can go to these pampa sites and they can draw everything from tanks, weapons, support equipment. There's just billions of dollars of equipment stored over in Europe right now. We've taken a lot of that back, I understand, in the last few years.
Yeah.
But back in the day, we had, I don't know, that's what I did a lot of back in the day, was the pampa sites, the maintenance and the oversight for the pampa sites.
Yeah, massive caches of equipment at the ready. And I remember you would rotate through, there was some schedule to shake down things and take it out, make sure everything's there, was supposed to be there, and it was, ready to go should the day come.
Yeah. That's my experience. So, if I ever see you at a conference, Bobby, we'll sit down and have a cocktail.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about our time in Germany. I mean, I have a lot of really good memories, and I don't want to get into today because today's about you. But, I plan to make a career out of the service, and certain things happen where it didn't happen. But I totally agree with you. The basics that I learned about leadership when I was going through I was a 90-day Wonder Boy, but, going through the basic course, at Fort Gordon and, the other courses we went through, it was just tremendous. That gave me the concepts of what leadership is. And I still say, I firmly believe that every single child, I don't care if you're male or female, should go through at least a 2-year course, go through basic training and go through some MOS prior to going to college. I firmly believe that, especially in today's kids. Most of today's kids need, more structure in their life. And I think that by going through either an Army course or, United States Marine or Air Force MOS type training would do wonders for every single one of them. I firmly believe that with all my heart and soul.
I still, my first battalion commander, George Aldridge, I respect him so much. And we still get together. We do reunions. We're at San Antonio not too long ago.
Wow.
And, I implemented SkillBridge about 3 years ago for our business. And, I really look for veterans when we're hiring.
Sure.
Well, I happen to know of a perfect opportunity coming up in July for us to all sit down and have a drink and talk more.
Let's go.
Yeah. If you can come to Kansas City for the NCSLI, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that and see if we can get that on the schedule.
Plus, it's NAPT's 30th anniversary. So.
Oh, that's right, huh?
Yeah.
By the way, congratulations on that, guys. Boy, I bet you that time has flown by.
Oh, gee. We're going to have, I think, one episode where we really talk about, NAPT, the beginning and the frustrations, because, as with any business, I don't want to get into it again too deeply, but, when I started NAPT 30 years ago, there was very few people that actually thought they would succeed. 99.98% of the people thought I was a fool for leaving a corporate job and starting NAPT. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many naysayers I had 30 years ago. And look at now, we got 4 other PT companies for the metrology community, when they all said that it wouldn't succeed. But yeah, I got a story to tell too there, Bobby. So we're gonna have to get together and have that drink and share some stories about that.
Yeah, I would love to.
Lots to talk about. All right, so I want to get back to the business of Michelli. Am I saying that right, Michelli?
Michelli.
Michelli, thank you. So the origins of Michelli was legal metrology. So there's 3 branches or categories of metrology. That is scientific metrology, and that's going to be the National Metrology Institutes, the national labs, Sandia, Lawrence Livermore. And then you're going to have industrial metrology, which is ensuring that you're controlling production processes so you prevent false acceptance or false rejection through instrumentation. that's used to make those measurements. And it's surprising that it's sometimes under facilities instead of quality or engineering. But in any case, there's that industrial metrology, very important to look backwards if you have a failure or any concerns so that you catch that on the product or recall it if you need to. And then, of course, legal metrology. And that's really where Michelli started. And that is the scales and balances, and whether they're large cattle scales, truck scales on the highway, railroad scales, or you're talking about scales in the post office or in the deli or wherever else, the doctor's office. And those don't necessarily look backwards. They're not going to go back and correct things, give you an extra slice of meat because it had a wrong measurement, give you some gas back because the gas pump was wrong. That's all legal metrology that says when you catch it, correct it, move forward. But now you're expanding into industrial metrology, or you have been expanding into industrial metrology as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, the origins of the business really, I think, related to not just legal metrology, but I think the industrial aspects as well. And we talk about quality as a primary driver why people are measuring, and I think that ties directly to the notion of industrial metrology. And so, obviously, our customers see their scales on the legal side as a cash register, and it started really early on. Where we live in the South on the Gulf, there's a lot of fishery there. There's a lot of shrimping, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And, on those docks, the guy that's running the dock would create ice, sell it to the shrimpers, and he would sell it by weight. The shrimpers would go out and shrimp for 3, 4, 5 days, fill up the hulls of their boats, come back into the dock, hook a big vacuum to the hull, suck it out, and go across a conveyor that has basically load cells on it into a dump hopper.
Oh, yeah.
And it would go right into a 4-foot by 4-foot tote, and ice would layer, shrimp would layer, ice would layer, and then it would be a processor come by and pick it up. And based upon that ticket that was printed at the dock, they buy the 6,000 pounds of shrimp at X dollar at a dock price or a wholesale price. Then it goes to the processor, maybe in New Orleans or in Houma, Louisiana, wherever. And now they're grading it, they're sizing it, and ultimately they're packaging it for the next chain in the supply chain. And of course they're measuring it, and they're doing more than just weighing at that point. But ultimately, I always tell people by the time the food gets on the table, whether it's coming out of the Central Valley of California or it's coming out of some fishery, it's been measured a dozen times.
Oh, yeah.
And so the legal piece is all around us. Probably 70% of our customer base have tools inside their environment that are for legal metrology reasons. The industrial, I say we've really been in industrial for much longer than people realize. We serve early on, oil and gas and the petroleum associated byproducts of drilling, manufacturing. They're measuring, right? Ultimately, they're measuring and make sure that their brand doesn't get screwed up, because if they have to do a recall because they missed a quality requirement, it can kill a company. And so, or in the life sciences and the pharmaceutical, it can kill a patient. And so the industrial metrology, where you need to look back if there is a problem, either for recall or for quality reasons, is very important. And we play a lot in that arena. But most of those quality driven measurements or industrial metrology, they do also have a portion of legal metrology within the same plants, within the same manufacturing environments or distribution environments. So we often have, both types of customers. Sure. Not so much in the scientific today and it's mostly because of where we operate. We do have some mostly on the West Coast of the United States, but we certainly play in two of those areas of metrology very heavily.
Yeah, I'll tell you, back in 2005, I took a trip down to, the petrochemical areas in Texas and Louisiana. Spoke to companies like Dow Chemical and Shell and BP and all those. One of those conversations was about how you take crude oil and make different products out of it.
Yeah.
And the fact that, maybe 3 or 4 years prior, they didn't really care about calibration as much. And then they started to care about it for other reasons. But in any case, they didn't care about it because, and the statement was made to me, don't shoot the messenger. We'll take the crude and we'll make diesel. And if that gets messed up for whatever reason, we'll just turn it into gasoline or kerosene or whatever else, right? We're going to make money no matter what.
Yeah, good is good enough.
I get that, but what about safety? Because then you talk about oil spills and or fires or whatever else, explosions, which there's been plenty of those in history. So safety is a reason why you want to control the processes really well and make sure you're measuring correctly. Cost. Even if you can make money, what is it costing you to rework that same material, right? Same product into something else. So, there's obviously reasons why you still want to keep control over that, even if you are making money.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when we onboard new team members, we go through various training, and as we, sort of get them acclimated to why we are in existence, and we talk about the 3 principal reasons why our customers measure: safety for sure.
Yes.
Right. Quality
safety for the
sure.
Process. Safety for the consumers.
Oh, right? Big time. It's a dual-edged blade there, because we do have explosions, we do have vehicles and rail cars that get overloaded, and it can be very harmful. Obviously the quality aspects are clear, and then the commerce, right? Either you're losing money because you're not measuring correctly, or customers are getting really screwed. Consumer protection is why most weights and measures organizations exist at the state level,
because it builds trust when you have control over that process.
That's right.
And that builds brand.
And our like, we think about our strategy. Our strategy is just it's a byproduct of us being successful with our customers. Our customers are asking us to go additional places. So when we expand into a new geography, or we open up a new discipline and we add it to our scope of accreditation, it's not because, oh, that sounds pretty cool. It's because we're in an existing customer. They've asked us, hey, can you help us with this area? Or, we work with lots of multi-location customers in the US marketplace. And if we do a good job, at the first one or the second one, it's highly likely we're going to be able to expand to other locations around the country. And that's driven really, and way before my time, but that's driven our acquisitive nature of our business.
And that's free marketing. That's built-in marketing.
It is free marketing.
Right.
But it obviously presumes that you have everyone in your organization. I always call it the golden thread. And the golden thread for us, imagine this beautiful golden thread that's unbroken, right? Mm-hmm. And the golden thread is a visual for our team members that represents quality, and that it isn't a function, right? It is part of everyone's core responsibility. And if we keep it unbroken, then great things happen for the growth of our business. If one little small chain fails, then we're at risk of not getting the benefit of customer satisfaction and growth for us.
That's fantastic perspective.
I want to add something to that, Bobby. And I think that we probably talked about this a little bit last year, but we literally have tens of thousands of metrologists making measurements every single day. And a couple minutes ago, Bobby, you hit it right in the head, is we measure everything. Just think for a minute. Everything in our lives is measured one way or another. And if we didn't make a proper measurement, how messed up our life would be. We can say, well, we messed up a gallon of gas. Well, if we say we're going to get 100 miles to the gallon and we only measure 90, we're not going to get where we want to go. And I can give you example after example of measurements. But the quality of that measurement is so important that it's accurate, it's correct, it's right. That we've got to do that. And obviously you're doing that at Michelli now. And I just think that we get, we're undervalued in our professions. I think that our entire profession is undervalued for the services we provide to the communities that we live in.
Yeah, I always think about, because I think every company, I talk to a lot of other owners and heads of companies and whatnot. We're all challenged with recruiting, right? And I always blame it on ourselves. We don't do adequate job of promoting the importance of what we do. I'm talking about on a big scale of promotion.
Yeah.
Since we're in every every thread of every fabric of everything humans touch,
Yeah.
you would think people would know and understand the importance of measurement and how you can have confidence in measures, right? But we're like, oh, I didn't know that existed. That's what I hear from people.
Oh, yeah, all the
Right.
time.
Like, how can you not know it exists or the importance of it? Is because we've not done as an industry, and it's not a recent thing, it's decades
It is.
of just everyone minding their own little village and not thinking about, hey, we need to promote this on a global basis, the importance of it, because things fail. It could be a human health system, it could be a military system, it could be a food supply chain, it could be, you name it, fill in the blanks. It can fail if the measurement is not right on an ongoing, continuous basis.
Absolutely.
And I'm so excited about our space. I mean, I tell kids when I'm talking to them, I said, imagine if you could go into, 8 or 9 different industries in a day and help them ensure that their measures are always correct and accurate. And the diversity of what we do across customer types versus, oh, I'm gonna go work inside of a plant and it's like going to prison almost because you're locked in there, you're doing the same stuff each and every day. But I do think promotion is one of the areas that as an industry, we probably need to focus more on.
Yeah, you talked about, we each have our little tunnel vision of what we do in society and business and commerce, and don't really see the bigger picture. I love these shows they have on TV, how it's made or whatever
Yeah.
else, right? Because to me, just as an engineer, I love manufacturing processes, and scaling those up to larger scales is incredible. That you can make that work and automate it and whatever else. So I find those shows interesting. But earlier you were talking about fishery to table or farm to table or source to end, right? That whole process, whether it's food or it's products, watching that, I don't know there's any shows that take it from the beginning to the end. And that would be a really, I think, an incredibly interesting series of shows to make. It would take a lot to do that. But think about what you were talking about with just shrimping and what it takes to go out with the boats and catch all that, bring it all in, layering it in the systems to the conveyor belts and all that, and then the next process it goes to, and the next process,
yeah.
and the next process, or
Yeah.
something as simple as tomato farm, right? And they make they're growing tomatoes, they sell them at wherever, right, to the grocery stores. You end up buying them and using them at home, but they also go to restaurants and manufacturing facilities for food products like tomato paste and things like that.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
it's
somebody will
like it
take
can be
that
applied to
taste and they'll make
anything.
something else.
Like whether it's a med device, whether it's how cars are made and how each element, the aluminum, the steel, how does that come to be? We work, waste and recycling is a fairly large segment for us. And I was working with a large customer out west. So I went out there to visit him with our sales team and service team, and he was describing to me that, they had this big recycling center where they had these big bales of crushed cans, right? Aluminum cans. And he said, Bobby, do you know how long it takes from the time we buy from Alcoa, after they have created rolls of aluminum sheet,
Right.
from the time we get those sheets and they get formed into cans and we put our water and sugar or whatever else going into the can, the soda, and then it gets through a distribution network, and then ultimately the can gets thrown on the ground somewhere or put in a can,
Yep.
and then it gets back to the recycling. He was like, it's like 10 months in
Wow.
California because they do a lot of recycling out there.
Yeah.
And I said, you got to be kidding me. And so he broke it down for me. But that's an example of, okay, how did you get this roll of aluminum? How did that happen?
Right.
And then how did this roll of aluminum become, I don't know, a Diet Coke can?
Yeah.
And how did it get back? And they say 89% of that aluminum gets rethreaded, recycled.
Incredible.
It's an amazing
89%.
Concept to see how things are made, but
Yeah.
also how that renewal happens and how it goes back and it's melted back down. It creates again.
Purified and then right. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about, is taking pure elements or materials or whatever and turning it into something, and then taking that and turning it into something else, and that whole line of and tree of all the different products that come from that, and how they're used to build other subcomponents that are built into other end components or end products. It's huge. That whole network is huge, and it'd be fascinating to trace that from beginning to end, or back through recycle back to the beginning again, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty neat. All right, so I'm going to go to a different aspect. No disrespect to Michelli. I've been in metrology for 43 years, and I don't remember hearing the name Michelli until about 3 or 4 years ago at a conference. I don't know why that is, and I feel embarrassed a little bit that I don't know Michelli, because I've been around and I've done a lot of research on companies that provide calibration services, and somehow that never came up until, like I said, at a conference a few years ago.
Yeah, not surprising. It's we've tended to really stick to our knitting and keep things very close to the vest. And honestly, we've been, for the majority of our existence, we've sort of been on that legal metrology side.
Yeah.
And we've used that as the success there to start to learn and understand, because the going from just sort of a company that calibrates industrial scales and repairs them and installs them, to being a real calibration lab, are two different worlds.
They are.
And they're very different. And, it's a much more rigorous environment to say you are a calibration lab. I mean, things like proficiency testing, but they don't have that on the industrial weighing side, honestly.
Right. But you do have licensing requirements, right? Certifications.
We do, and in each state is regulated at the state level, not
Every
at a
state,
national level.
and what, 7 different types of scales that you have to become certified for? So
That's right.
It's a cumbersome process.
It is a process. Our technicians have to be licensed and they have to be tested. And, it's a very old trade.
Right.
I mean, you go back to antiquity and the guy with the hand balance, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's really where a lot of this originated from, was unfair trade with balances and products.
Yeah. So our name recognition on the metrology side, is just because of that. And again, we're using our success on the industrial weighing side, the legal metrology side, to allow us to start to get into that space and start to get in. I mean, we're fairly young. I mean, less than 10 years. We actually have been in this space, where we have Cal Labs, our largest in the New Orleans area. But, we I don't know if you knew Barbara Zurer from Bryland Technologies. She recently passed away. We acquired her lab business.
Oh, I do know her. I did not
in
know she
Goleta.
passed.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
She was a bit of a legend, in the industry, strong quality executive, and stood up that lab, successfully running for multiple decades in the Santa Barbara area. We will be closing on another lab up in the Northwest in probably the next 6 weeks. But, part of it is, and one of our challenges is when, in the perfect world, you go out there and have enough capital to go start from scratch and have standardization across all of your labs, in terms of the test standards that they're using. It's one process. This is the way we do it. It's one system, right? It's basically one accreditation. And unfortunately, we've grown either, by expansion or by acquisition. And acquisition is challenging, especially when it comes to things, that have an ISO requirement, say an accreditation requirement. And we have a lot of different sort of standards and processes that have
legal
to be
metrology,
harmonized.
especially, let's talk about your calibration of larger scales, cattle scales, truck scales, railroad car scales. So you do the installation of those types of scales, you do the servicing and maintenance on those. Talk about servicing. Now you've got these huge trucks with probably an I-beam in them and a cart that carries the weights, and 1,000-pound weights, 500-pound weights, the big weights, right? That you're having to carry around. You get low gas mileage. It's hard on the vehicles. Suspension, you probably got high maintenance on those vehicles as well. And the licensing, certification by state, by type of scale, really has a lot of constraints to make it scalable. It's difficult. So to scale that, I'm guessing that you need to duplicate it in different states, especially if you're trying to go further, instead of trying to take a hub and go out to spokes for very much different distance. Sorry. So that can make it a real challenge as well. So I can see why acquisition makes sense as far as legal metrology goes. Whereas industrial metrology, and even for smaller scales in legal metrology, you take a set of weights, you take gauge blocks, you take, your lab standards equipment, you can go pretty far, any distance, pretty easily to be able to scale those types of operations. So it's completely different, correct?
Yeah. I always think about, 95-7% of our work on the industrial weighing side is done at the customer's location.
Mm-hmm.
We actually go on site and do the work. It's also different in that when we go on site, we typically do all of their scales at the same time. The balances, moisture analyzers, all the way up, right?
Yeah,
so we can knock out, let's say it's a quarterly. The more important the measurement, the more frequently customers get it done on both the quality and the legal side. And so many of our customers have us got a major chemical manufacturer. It has us come out monthly to do about 80 scales at this plant, because it's 17025, by the way, because their customer is a major automotive manufacturer. They're mandating it. So we go on site to do the work versus, customers sending in this stuff for, recertification.
Right.
So, and then the other piece on that piece may not be obvious, is that we found that when we go out, we can do all the scales. That's very efficient, right? When I call it the drip effect where customers drip in 100 tools at a time over, say, a 12-month cycle. And they may have 4,000 tools that we have to do, but they're dripping them in, or they want us to come out to their site on a repeated basis,
right?
Or embed. I mean, it's just logistically, it's a lot more challenging than on how we do the industrial weighing side, which is, that's part of it. That makes it a higher bar for success to be able to handle logistics of the calibration.
Yeah, and then the timing as well. So if you end up going to an on-site, do the calibrations you're expecting to see that you've agreed to with the client, and then the tech shows up and there's 25 more added all of a sudden, right? Or they're short and they can't find them or whatever else, and they're sitting around waiting for them. I mean, that goes to efficiency as well.
Well, that's just business though, Howard. That happens when you run a third-party cal lab.
Yeah, but it makes it very difficult to schedule, because now you're delaying schedule for somebody else, perhaps.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. We measure on a daily basis. We have this barometer that tells us, okay, in the month of March, we've got 14,000 cals that's supposed to happen. And, I was looking at it this morning. Okay, we're about 9% through. We should be at 12% through.
Right.
And then as it gets closer and closer, all right, guys, I think we're going to hit it or we're going to miss it.
Yeah. I want to add just real quickly before we get to the personal side, because we have a section we have to move on to where we actually get to ask Bobby a lot of personal questions.
All right.
But, back in my other life, Bobby, I ran a cal lab, and we had offices as well, not as big as you guys are, but we had several offices as well. And I do not regret not being a manager of a third-party cal lab anymore. The job that you guys do, it's stressful. It takes a lot of logistics, a lot of planning, and every day is a new fire that you got to put out. And I don't miss that at all, to be quite honest with you. So, so moving forward, let me first ask one of the personal questions that we have, because believe it or not, Bobby, we're getting down to the point where we're gonna probably run out of time. I mean, it's been a fabulous episode so far, and I wanted to get to know a little bit about you before we have to call it a day, before we're forced to shut down for the day. So one of the questions I always like to ask our guests is role models. Do you have any role models in your life that really made a huge impact on you and what you provide to either personally or to your business environment?
Well, I have lots of role models in my life. Certainly GT Michelli has been a role model since I was a young kid. An individual who was like an action-oriented individual. No matter how many people were naysayers about something, he would find a way to do it. And he was very much of, I say action-oriented, because he would make things happen, whether that's with his physical hands or by setting the leadership example. And, that's can be an uncomfortable role at times, because you have to make hard decisions. So, he's certainly been an amazing example. My father, it has been an amazing example. He's passed away, but, the way he was, he was a cop in New Orleans, but he was always available for the five of us, and he figured a way to make time. And I think, and I'm always talking to our team members as I try to remove barriers for them. Hey, you got to make sure you're taking care of your family at home, your significant other, because if that's not taken care of, it's going to affect our ability to have success here at this work. And so I always reflect back on how, people were able to really be stellar examples of success by taking care of their families and having that as a priority in their life, because that will be contagious, and that will be part of our culture ultimately. And so, I mean, two fathers have been my biggest role models in my life. But I see role models in individuals I work with, young people that have come to work, and, they're inquisitive. They don't know it all, and they say they don't know it all, but they're working to educate themselves independent of what we do. For me, that's role modeling.
It's inspirational.
We live on
Yeah.
three simple things in Michelli: GCR, grow, care, respond. That's our North Star.
Nice.
And we want to be better than we were yesterday. We want to be lifelong learners. We want to intensely care about one another, about our customers, about what we're perceived to be. And we want to be known as a company that responds, and so I think when I look at role models, I'm always sort of somehow triangulating those three simple words to say, how can that person be a model for others?
Yeah, that's great. So in the grow aspect of that, and you're scaling the business, all of us have the challenge of finding good technicians.
Yeah.
Do you tend to grow your own internally? Do you have a program for that? Do you use some of the external models for learning and training? How do you solve that problem?
Yeah, I mean, combination. And we were subscriber to the Sign School. We have a program. We put in some systems. One is the Michelli Way, which is basically 7 different dimensions. One is obviously development for our technicians, and career pathing for our technicians. We've got a schoolhouse in our Dallas operation where level 1 technicians go through that schoolhouse. But honestly, absent of the Department of Defense having a formal training program is challenging. The fact that, we can't go get metrologists that are ready. We can't go get field service technicians that are ready. They're going through formal education processes. So we are left a lot to do it on our own, on the job, or some initial training. But honestly, it's still a lot to be done in the regards of development of people. I think we look for people that inherently have an ability to solve problems, and they sort of have an inquisitive mind. They want to know the why of things, and they're not going to just accept a number on a dial that is correct.
Right.
They're going to be able to delve deeper and understand the why of things.
Well, that's an important characteristic for hiring of any technicians in this field, for sure. Somebody that's inquisitive, wants to learn, wants to make sure that they're doing a good job, good integrity.
Yeah.
So good news on that front. We had one of our guests, Ken Rayson, and he started up the Metrology Institute, if you're not aware of that. So take a look at what he's got going on there. He's not necessarily developing the training, he's pulling all the resources together from everywhere he can find to make sure that that's a single source to go to for companies that need that.
I'll definitely check that out. I was not aware of the Metrology Institute.
Yeah, so he's building that and growing it and looking for sponsors and people to take part in that in the community. All right, Chuck, another question?
Yeah, so we also like to ask about travel. I think this is a question Howard usually handles, but I'll ask it for him.
Yeah.
So in all your years of traveling, you sound like you traveled a little bit about the world and stuff. Is there any favorite place that you've been to that you would say, Chuck, go visit that tomorrow because you've got to see this place?
Yeah, I spent a couple of years throughout the continent of Africa. Cape Town was pretty extraordinary. Just like sitting there and looking, like thinking about how big this continent is, and the view there, and the people were extraordinarily friendly, and the nature of it all, both the agricultural aspects and the sea that's there, the oceans that are coming together there. That was pretty extraordinary. Honestly, my wife and I, we love the entire Pacific coastline in the United States. We've driven multiple times from Seattle down to Phoenix, through San Diego, then jumping over the mountain range to Phoenix. And just because you'll see so many different aspects of nature, and it's like, wow, you always say, how did this get created?
Yeah.
We love going out west. Honestly, sounds simple. There's a little beach on the North Carolina, South Carolina border, and it's a little island called Sunset Island. And the sunsets and sunrises there are amazing. And it's still an old school place. There are no high rises, right? And it's simple. So and we've been doing that for 35 plus years.
Oh, wow.
We go there with our families. And so, I don't know, we're going this summer. We're going to go, my wife and I are going to go over to Rome and then catch a train over to Venice. And then we're catching a cruise with 3 other couples to go to Croatia and ending in Greece. So I've never done that part of the world. So I'm really psyched about that and what that
my
might
wife
be
and I are
like.
going to Italy in September. Florence, Rome, and Amalfi Coast.
Yeah. So,
that'll be fantastic. That'll be fun.
Yeah, most of our travels, we like to just do stuff with family or friends, and I don't know, keep it simple. And there's so much to see right here in this country. We tend to navigate a lot of different places, and we always are able to somehow or another tie in seeing some of our customers or seeing our team members and saying hello to them and thanking them on those travels.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can combine family and travel and business and all that. I just did that this weekend. So ended up going to Warsaw, Indiana, a med tech company that we support. And I'm also interested in barbecue, right? And the national contest. Being here in Kansas City, the biggest contest for barbecue is the American Royal. And so I thought I wanted to become a certified judge. I went to the American Royal for the first time in November and decided, I'm going to go take a class, become a certified barbecue judge. Well, there just happened to be one in Warsaw, Indiana, of all places, over the weekend. So I just stayed and took the full day class and became a certified judge. And to align everything together, one of my sisters, I'm the youngest of 11, by the way. One of my sisters just moved. They sold their farm in Southwest Michigan, closed on it last Friday. They've bought this house in the Fort Wayne area. So close by, I was able to have dinner with them, combining everything together. So
that's great.
That's perfect.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, do you want me to ask another question, Howard, or do you have one that you want to ask Bobby?
Probably, since you stole my question, I'm going to steal yours. So if you're an avid reader, Bobby, do you have a favorite book, either personal favorite, fiction, nonfiction, whatever, or business book that you recommend to the audience?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'm a huge history fan, so I tend to read a lot of history books. The the last book I read was, it was a book, it was called The Leader's Zen. And what struck me was that it was like common sense, right?
Mhm.
That, the idea of leadership just almost being a external thing where, how would you want to be led?
Right.
Are you a good listener? Do you have clarity in your communications? Are you able to excite someone about what tomorrow can be?
So it's a book about
Um,
being introspective.
Yeah, yeah. And just sort of like, I think sometimes people are uncomfortable. And I talk to young leaders about this all the time. I said, look, leadership involves emotion, right? And it's not like, it's like an architect where, you're just going to sketch this out, put some CAD drawings together, and then you're a great leader. I mean, you've got to get to know people. You got to deal with human issues. And you got to get really between people's ears and in their hearts, to really get people to their full potential. I talk about potential all the time when we're trying to motivate organizations. And to me, leadership is ultimately about getting individuals to their full potential. And if you can do that, as you get a group of people, a dozen, 10 dozen, 100 dozen people together, and the majority of the folks are getting to a place where they feel they're achieving their full potential.
Yeah.
To me, that's leadership. I mean, it's that simple.
My observation over my career has been that there are people in leadership positions who are horrible at it. And if it's irritating enough, it becomes the catalyst to drive people away from that type of bad leadership and say, I'm not going to do it that way. But it doesn't necessarily bring you into the fold like you're talking about. So the positive leadership is an important aspect of that. It's probably the most important aspect of that.
I think
But
so.
you can learn from people who do it wrong.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, we had, I remember, we had the intimidator, we called him. This was a long time ago when I was in the military, and I guess there was this notion that you could intimidate people into following.
Yeah.
And while you may get them to follow you once, you probably won't see them again.
It's not a pleasant journey.
Yeah. No. So that's, I'm always fascinated. That's why I like history, because there's always great stories of either failed or successful leadership experiences in individuals.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going through some of that today in our country.
Chuck, we probably need to wrap it up, but back to you.
Yeah, we got time for one more question. So so only other personal question we'd like to ask you to know about you is your movies. Is there a favorite movie that you like that you would recommend?
Ooh, famous movie. It's
okay if you want to say Shawshank Redemption. I get that.
This probably sounds really stupid, but there's the old movie from the 70s where they're going from the East Coast to the West Coast, looking for that money that's been hidden underneath like some symbol.
The Great Race,
or Mad World.
Mad World. Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I just, as a young person, seeing all these different parts of the country.
Yeah.
And I watched it the other day with some friends. It's online now, of course. And one, the variety and how people sort of were navigating the challenge of going from the East Coast to the West Coast. It was a fun, there's so many movies that are too serious or too much killing, and it's just a lighthearted, fun
it's
movie.
a good comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Check it out.
Well, unfortunately, believe it or not, we've gone over an hour. And so our editors are going to be mad at us once again. We always seem to, we never seem to have enough time, Bobby. And so I mean, what a great conversation. Thank you for sharing with us. We're very, very appreciative of you taking your time with us this morning.
Yeah. I
learned a lot.
How glad I am to have you on the show and to get to know you a little more, Bobby.
Yeah, Howie, Chuck, you guys, honestly, if y'all are ever down in the New Orleans area, You don't need an invitation. You're always welcome. Come by and say hello, grab dinner or lunch or something.
Yeah,
Well,
my
I'm gonna
wife
bring
and
my
I are
golf
talking
clubs
to,
with me. We
Yeah.
never got a chance to talk about golf too much, but our good friend that we share, is a very good friend of both Howard and I, and your
Mhm.
friend as well. He's become a really good golfer now,
yes.
and we got to take him down, Bobby. We just got to take him out, and
Oh yeah, we'll figure a way to take them down.
well, you know what it is, Bobby. You can get in his head. When I played golf with him, last time, I figured out that if I'm in his head, he cannot play golf.
Yeah. Well, two Army guys against a Navy guy, we should be able to handle that. Pretty good.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a no-brainer. So we'll take him down.
Yeah, and by the way, we have last year we did all of our sites got up on IndySoft, and we have a few more to do this quarter. So we'll be done by the end of this quarter with the enterprise-wide rollout of that. It's been really good for us having one system across the
Yeah,
enterprise.
it's a nice system. I know it as well. So Howard,
You know-
any last words before we call it a day?
Just Bobby, thanks for the open invitation. I probably will take you up on that at some point for two reasons. Number one, my wife and I want to take a drive from Kansas City down to Texas and across. She wants to go to Waco to whoever the Joanne and whatever his name is for home remodeling.
Yep.
Probably the Dr. Pepper Museum because she's a huge Dr. Pepper fan.
Yeah.
Arkansas on the way down as well for another home show that she loves. And then over to New Orleans because my favorite food in the entire world is Cajun Creole seafood, just the best flavors there are.
Yeah, I can
I've
point you
never
to some
been to
really
New
good
Orleans.
spots for restaurants down in our city.
And then on
Nice.
over to Mobile and down to Destin and probably over to Savannah, Georgia. And
The
then back
best
up to
museum in the
Tennessee.
country is the World War II Museum, the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. It's amazing.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, have to go there.
Thank you for that.
Bobby, any last words before we call it a
No,
day?
thank you guys. I think one, it's always good to talk to colleagues in this industry, and what you guys do is so important for us to really, at technician at the organizational level, to really know how we're doing compared to others. So we appreciate what you guys do, and again, y'all are always welcome to visit with us.
Thank
We
you.
definitely will. Well, I want to thank our sponsor, NEPT, the National Association for Proficiency Testing. Without them, we wouldn't be here today. So hopefully you like the episode, you like it, and you share it, and you tell your friends and your colleagues to go and check out not only this episode, but we have plenty of other ones that are available on the website at www.proficiency.org. All kinds of episodes with all kinds of great folks. We look forward to that. And I always like to say at the end of the day, if you're not participating in proficiency testing, you're not proving your technical competency. So if you need to prove your technical competency, you need to roll in a proficiency test today. So with that, I'm out. Thank you again, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Easy out.